Hello, this is a video about INTPs, and I am an INTP, and I haven't done a video like this yet. I can do this way really. I can turn this a little bit. I can't see the time on this thing. I am an INTP, and I am probably particularly unusual for an INTP because I tend to be probably more introverted than the rational types. Let me see if I can get this straightened out here. There we go. I'm probably more introverted than the rational types, than most rational types. Especially if you're an extroverted rational. My introversion on a test I took, I would say a decade ago, almost exactly a decade ago, indicated that I was in the 98th percentile of introversion. I was at least 60 on all the other counts. So I am more of the type of INTP that is more unequivocal. I'm more of a very definitive INTP. So if you're curious, you see somebody who's INTP, and you say, well, you know, does that really show someone who is really, you know, does that really show the characteristics, someone who's really strongly INTP? And that's what I am. So it's interesting. The whole scoring for Myers-Briggs is interesting. I would say, you can hear maybe a little bit of a southern accent. I'm originally from the South. The accent tends to come and go. For most of my time up here, I live up north. And I'm a Yankee now, but I used to live in the South. And for an INTP, for one thing, there are a lot of people that are introverted. And there are a good number of people that are rational, but the INTP lacks the judicial qualities. If you've ever been before a judge before, I have. A judge will make a decision. INTPs don't do that. They're also their thinking component, which is the T part of the INTP. In INTPs that are strongly INTP, the alternate of the thinking component, INTP, would be the thinking component, the T there, would be more more emphasized. It would be an alternative to the F, the feeling type. The feeling type is more, perhaps, a larger perspective on basically gathering information. Is the feeling type gathering information based on the sense they get. It might be something like looking at art. You know, somebody who is not good at looking at art, and you know, I have an appreciation for art. I'm not very much into it, really. I like it a little bit. I mean, I like art a little bit more than I used to. But somebody who's not good at art may say, you know, I see some paint on a canvas. Whereas a feeling type is someone who looks at a situation, or is in a situation, maybe looks at the cover of a book, you know, say you can't tell a book by its cover. Well, a feeling person might say, they might look at a cover of a book and say, that looks like it's this kind of a book. It might not be the same thing as reading the book, but they get a sense. So it's kind of a quicker realization. So same thing with social situations. A feeling person would look at a social situation and say, I'm getting the sense that these people are this way. Whereas an INTP, you know, at least initially, does not or may not have the capacity to really sense where people are coming from. An INTP would look at people and say, first of all, you got the introversion. So they look at people and they say, oh, you know, oh, well, I'll talk with you if I want to. I'm not looking for something interesting to talk with people about. As an INTP, I'm not looking for something interesting to talk with somebody about. To me, especially as an introversion, 98 to 100%, it's not my primary objective to touch base with people, especially without the judging factor, the J. In INTP, the P could be a J, judging rather than perceiving. Introversion, I would look more to myself than other people. Other people, it's like fish in water. A lot of people feel that their interactions and their friendships and acquaintanceships and all that stuff are particularly important to them. An introverted person would, and an INTP also, would feel, such as I, and I do feel this way, feel that that's not that important sometimes. In fact, for me, it's rarely important. I as an INTP, am not willing to wade through, sometimes I am, I'm not willing to wade through people's peculiarities, although, you know, INTP to a lot of people will be peculiar, a peculiar personality. I'm not willing to wade through it all to find something I'd like to talk to the person about. An INTP person, and I feel the same way, why would I talk to you unless you interest me? And it's typically intellectually and typically logically. There is intellect, of course, which is not logical or not logically foundational, where, you know, someone may say piece of classical music, you know, how do you logically parse that? And I do enjoy classical music. I enjoy music in general, all types of music, well, pretty much all types of music. But how would you logically look at a piece of classical music? And you can talk about that intellectually without breaking it down into its mathematical components. Or, you know, painting, or how clothing looks. So you got the introversion, which is more focused on what I think, me thinking, or me me looking towards myself rather than other people. The thinking component, or the intuitive component, is again it's removed from the sense. I believe sensing is the opposite. I think that's right. So the thinking, the intuitive person would look towards would kind of get the feel of the layout of things. Let's see, oh, I think this is the right answer. Not so much sensing the way other people are, but it's more intuitive about things or ideas. It's, for me, it's like working. I mean, I'm trying not to be, boring here. But some people is not interested in this stuff. But to me, I can look. Somebody can work out a mathematical problem. I can look at the problem and the solution without working it out, and say, that's the wrong answer. I think people can do that to an extent. But if something, I mean, intuitively, I can tell a lot of times by looking at a mathematical problem and somebody's answer to see if it's right or not. And then it's intriguing to me to see, well, if the answer is a certain, if the answer is a certain thing, how was that determined? If that makes sense. I thought it was, when I took calculus in college, I thought it was interesting, I think the number would be 1/2, or I think the number would be 2, and the number would be 2 or 1/2, the opposite. Sensing is the opposite, where you're dealing with the physical world, but intuitive is more dealing with the abstract world. Then you've got the thinking versus feeling. The feeling, the feeling, as I already described, is whether something feels right or not. The sense you get from the whole surroundings, usually of, I think, people is more it. Or, whether you should paint your car orange, would it look that good that way? That maybe that kind of thing. And the perceiving is more general too. You've got perceiving or judging. A judging would say, there's one or two answers, this is the right one, this is the wrong one. However, perceiving would say, you got this, and you got that, and as I've heard it described, it's kind of like intuition. You're more interested in understanding, like, well, with me and math, with myself and math, I wasn't so much interested in working out the problem. I want to know how the problem worked. That makes sense. That's what perceiving is. It wants to determine the principles behind how something works. I find that people who have a feeling aspect tend to seem to have emotional explosions that I don't comprehend. I tend to be patient and have a disposition towards patience with people. Whereas feeling types, they might get annoyed at an INTP because, I said this, why didn't you say this? I mean, there are a lot of annoying people out there. But for me, there are. I said this, why didn't you say that back? And the judging people I have problems with too, because although they make the right decision and they're good in business, and they can say, okay, they got this and this, we're going to choose this. And they make a decision. Whereas an INTP, the perceiving part, the P part, tends to say, well, okay, this is what's going on, da 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 da, and they think at length about what's going on, and they say, oh, well, I think the conclusion would be this. So that's what that's like. And I don't know if I've gotten that much in this video. Hope that showed you a little bit about INTP, which is what I am.